And even if you were to have like a prompt of 10 different things, right? Like say if you had one prompt of like, oh, like here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. The possibility of that happening is again like a 1 in 10 chance, but it's like it shows that there's an infinite possibility.
Always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with, because there's no end to the prompts. There's no end to what we can roll up.
Well, now we're going to be officially rolling for superpowers. This is usually the make or break.
Roll for hero.
Hey, and hello everybody, and welcome to Roll for Hero, a hero-based rolling show, because I know how to English. Anyways, it is me, your weird uncle, with my amazing co-host and sexy bald man extraordinaire, Mr. Fish, over at Mr. Fish Comics, and I cannot wait to dive in and roll up a brand new character if my technology is willing to work with me and whatnot. So, Mr. Fish, last week we ended up rolling a very interesting character for Roll for Hero episode, if you will, for this whole new segment of ours and whatnot. So to recap what we ended up rolling a fancy powered kind of character that's basically gifted, their abilities in some way, shape, or form, and they're a rule follower, obsessed with it. They have elemental control, and they are susceptible to mind control, and their power comes from an artifact in which can be stolen. And not only that, they have to be a dark and brooding adjacent kind of hero in their overall appearance and whatnot. So I mean, the fact that there is two different artists, two different mindsets overall, and the way that we ended up designing these characters was a lot of fun. And again, all because the dice dictated what we ended up rolling out, or what we ended up having to draw. And again, just getting the same prompt and getting two different minds is one of the most interesting aspects of this. And I'm very happy on the results that we ended up coming out and whatnot. But I mean, other than that, I just fell in love with it. What about you, Mr. Fish? What do you think on this whole thing?
I think it was a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed rolling up random characters, but having somebody else to do it with and to see what you come up with, see what I come up with, it's been a whole lot of fun. Seeing what other people came up with and sent us pictures in our DMs and stuff of what they made was really freaking awesome. I can't wait to see what people come up with today, but I think we need to check out what we did last week first. So let's check out last week's.
Roll for hero versus.
Okay, so as you can see, this is my character that I ended up calling Oak Fang. So Oak Fang is actually part of an Aztec fantasy-inspired world in which they apprehend these strange, like ancient little masks made from either wood, clay, or some other elemental-based material, and they use those masks, obviously, to acquire their elemental-based abilities. Again, given how they could be susceptible to some variation of mind control or something related to the mind. The mind is one of the most hard-working computers in the human body, so of course they need to rely and focus a lot, using their mind to using their elemental-based abilities. Now, you could unlock, say, some primal-based ability and whatnot, and because of this, you're able to kind of get like some very interesting aspects. But Oak Fang over here, being like the little avatar, if you will, being able to touch into a little bit of every element, manages to unlock the primal forces of all the ancient beasts of elements, from the birds to the sharks of the sea, the bear of nature and the lion of fire and whatnot. But from my overall aesthetic, I chose a very Aztec-inspired outfit, still armored up, still with some of those unique little triangular shapes, still giving the dark and brooding kind of a color scheme, but very natural. And of course, my character is very much meant to be in a jungle-based setting. So again, you can kind of tell that he has like the little claw marks and whatnot, and even the beads could be made of like rock-based material. So if he ever needs to utilize these kinds of elements in any form of combat, he has that at his disposal. Again, this is just kind of like, and not only that, but I also gave him like a hooded kind of a cloak, or a like a robe or a scarf looking thing. So then that way, when he puts the hood over it, there's like a level of intimidation and whatnot. So again, he's a very dark, brooding, and he would stick by the rules of knowing how to work with the elements to the best of his abilities. If anything, following his own rules and whatnot. So that's at least my character. This is Oak Fang, and I very much had a blast putting this whole thing together.
Whoa,
and your character here.
Double clicked. Hold on, I want to show off the cool cover that you made.
Oh
That
yeah,
came
so there's
out really
it's
awesome.
a ton of fun. And originally I wanted to give the title and simply just call it Oak Fang, but I'm like, it doesn't have that like that oomph, if you will. So instead, I thought about what would this like series be called and whatnot. And obviously, you wouldn't just be following around just this character, because this could be an expansive universe with different kinds of
Mhm.
you know, heroes and villains and monsters and all the other kind of stuff in between. So then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, the word primal came into mind, and obviously at some point empire, and I'm like, the primal empire, you know, being the king of a primal based world with these Aztec laws and, you know, just kind of like the law of the land jungle kind of an aesthetic. So like the primal empire had like such a like a weight to it. And I honestly love the way that the title of it worked. Just and even getting to show off like the primordial beast or the primal beast of the different elements and whatnot. Even though I may have just taken some JPEGs of some animals and just kind of put a coat of color over them for the sake of, but hey, well, you know, it is what it is there.
It's not going to print. This is for fun. This is to
It is
show what we
funsies,
can
right?
do with it. Yeah.
But I mean, look, but by the cover alone, you can see the series potential with it. And to think
Oh
we just
yeah.
this was just nothing more than the dice rolls. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for the comments and thank you for the chat who are just spreading nothing but nice, fun stuff all around.
Cover is definitely awesome. Your character came out really cool, and I went a slightly different direction with it. I went more like D&D type fantasy, and I started thinking through the prompts that we got, and I was thinking like what kind of fantasy role that we normally play, you know, like character type would fit with these kind of powers. And I thought of a rogue. Like I thought of like an elite level like con man, shyster thief, like, you know, a high-end cat burglar kind of guy that will walk right into the party and drink your champagne and your finest wine, and he'll be flattering you, and then you turn and look, and then poof, he's gone because he's got these gauntlets and boots that he's inherited from his family line of thieves that let him just walk through stone and earth and other things like that. And he can control it too, but really his real key is slipping into places he's not supposed to be. And, you know, he can use his powers to do things like make diamonds and gems grow bigger than they were originally and stuff like the one he did on the end of his cane. But it's more fun for him to go in and steal. And he's got this whole set of rules because he's a rule follower. There's a way you do things and there's a way you don't. You stick to the rules of the Thieves Guild. You do this, you know, you do that. You steal with style. You don't steal from people that can't afford it, things like that. He only goes after the people that, you know, he deems like the fat, nasty, rich elite that are just, you know, taking advantage of everybody else. And then after we got to talking about our story ideas, it hit me that it would be really awesome to see him break into a vault, like just sneak in, gets through the king's party, nobody knows he's a bad guy, slips right through the walls, slips right through the floor, past all the guards, gets into the king's vault, full of gold and everything, just to have some skinny little chick come busting through the walls that happens to have lava gauntlets that are like his, that let her master the elemental powers of earth and fire. And she just comes in like a little chaos demon, setting off all the alarms. All the guards come running in, and he's like, I did everything right. I beat everybody, and this idiot's going to come in and ruin it for everybody. And I'm really interested in the character now. I want to do something with him now. And this was my cover I made, and he's so excited and so proud of himself that he's just snuck past everybody and he got in the vault. No idea what's about to come through the other wall and face him.
But again, all to show off the fact that these came from very two different mindsets. Hold on. Arthur says, love both because I can English. Love both their designs. Can't wait until because I can English. We love the English language over here, over at the Uncle Ultra Time and whatnot. I love both of their designs. Can't wait until next time. Uncle Ian, Mr. Fish, love you both. You both inspire me to work hard and draw my thoughts. And love you both as always. See you next time. Well, it was awesome seeing you, Arthur. Sorry for struggling having to read your comment, but hey, we love you too, buddy. I'm glad that you're here and that you were here for the time being. Well, anyways, but getting into this, but Slate Stonecarver, that was a solid name. Pun.
Oh yeah, and it got to give a shout out. Got to give a shout out to my buddy Brad Arney. I was thinking of Arney in the process. I have to give a shout out to my buddy Brad Arney, who suggested Stonecarver as a name, and then Slate just rolled off the tongue with it. And it just feels like very elite, very on the nose. I love it. It came out really cool. It was a lot of fun, man.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, this was a blast, just getting to finally show off like our artistic abilities, and not only that, but getting to see the two different mindsets. Because again, we were given the same prompt, but now we're given the same prompt, but two totally different mindsets, like a tribalistic, Avatar: The Last Airbender, but meeting Aztec luchadors essentially, and then we have Dungeons and Dragons, this thieving rogue who happens to apprehend everything through the powers of the elements. So getting to kind of see those characters come to life in very unique ways is a really interesting factor. Just getting to see our two different mindsets going in the directions that they are going. We have Philip Walter over here saying, wow, Mr. Fish's cover is definitely cool looking, and the title works very well. Honestly, I very much agree. Thank
you. Philip's a wise man. He's a smart man. He knows what he likes, and he likes what he knows, and I appreciate Philip for that.
And we appreciate people like that. All right, let me see, because I am trying my best to see if I can get this thing active and running, because I would like to show my side of things for once and not have to be a pain.
That would be nice.
Technology be technology, and sometimes it doesn't technology the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Just a shout out to Arthur's earlier comments. Hello. Sorry you had to go early. And Phillips, good morning. Hello, Mr. Esteban, Mr. Fish. We are going well. Everything's going nice. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure I got those comments in before getting too far. What up, Mr. Nope? Mr. Nope.
Also, before we continue any further, if you guys happen to have some amazing suggestions of like different superpowers, settings, drawbacks, amplified abilities, and whatnot, please put them in the chat, put them in the comments of this video, so then that way we can implement them into newer lists for later down the road. And who knows, we might be rolling up the exact superpower you've suggested to us at this moment in time. So 100%. I feel like as of this moment, I feel like we've done enough chit-chattering. We've shown off the characters we made last week. So, I mean, how about we actually, take the time and roll the dice and, well, roll for a hero.
I just barely got that up in time. My camera fell. This is my lovely dice tower that I created a little while back specifically for rolling up characters on my TikTok. And I think I used it on my TikTok a grand total of maybe 3 times. But now we're going to use it for this. And let's see here.
And for me, no art piece goes to waste. That is my philosophy.
Where is it? Oh, wrong button. Everything's in a different place now that I've moved some things around. Oh dang, I closed it. Hold on. I gotta open up my folder again that has those cards in it, because I stupidly closed it after we got looking at the images of our characters, because I completely forgot that it also has the cards for Roll for Hero, which this is my version of the list that I made up the other day, and I shared it out on social media. Caveat to anybody that checked it out on any of the Mr. Fish Comics social medias, the first page was missing a number 7. I have added it since then. I'm going to repost it again. But, things happen. So, anyway, I posted it with a little list of instructions. All of mine are based on a 10-sided die, or you can just take a 20-sided die and divide it by half. Doesn't matter. and then you just roll for the setting, the origin, and go down the list. Easy peasy. And first thing we are going to roll for is the setting, and I'm going to move this over here so we can see what we get. When we roll for setting, it is all the way back there in the back, but it is a 5. And number 5 is steampunk. So we are doing steampunk. I need to write that down.
Love a steampunk setting.
Steampunk. All right. And now we are going to go to the origin and see what type of character we are in this steampunk world. Number 1, we are an alien in a steampunk world.
Okay.
Born with, and we're going to see what powers and such we get next. Now we're going to get our power set. And this is going to tell us, do we have 1 major power, 1 major, and 2 minor powers, 4 minor powers? It's going to give us all of that stuff. Lots of combinations on there to keep it interesting. And we got a 1 again. Is that no, wait a minute. No, that's the 7. Okay. The 7's missing a little bit of paint. 2 major and 2 minor powers. Oh goodness.
Ooh.
Oh goodness. All right. I forgot to write down alien. Alien. And I need to turn off symmetry because I'm writing it backwards on the other side of the page. All right. Now we got 2 major and 2 minor powers. So we are uber powerful here. Let's go to the major powers and roll it up and see what we get. We got a 4 and an 8. So we have elemental control again and telekinesis. Ooh. And it can be whatever element you want it to be. It can be the control of heat or fire or radiation or earth or whatever. And then telekinesis.
And by the way, before we continue further, make sure if you guys are following along, roll up a character yourselves and of course draw them out and use the hashtag roll4hero, ROLL, the number 4 and HERO, and tag us on Instagram and all the other fun socials because we would love to see what you guys create. Again, draw along with us. This is just a fun time that we're going to have. Okay, so to recap everything you've said thus far, or everything that we're at the moment, a steampunk setting in which we're an alien with 2 minor and 2 major powers, and one of them being elemental control, telekinesis, right?
Yep. And now we're going to go to the minor powers. Now it's to the minor league, baby.
Minor.
Let's see. We got 1 and 5, which is flight and acrobatics. Flight can either be winged or unwinged. That is up to you. Or you can roll and get high or low and depend on what you want to do on that. And then acrobatics, like your Spider-Man, things like that, like really being able to flip and juke and jive and do whatever you want to do.
A very dexterous individual.
Yeah, the kind of guy that fights in midair above all the bad guys and not on the ground. Now we're doing the motivation. Are they selfless? Are they out for their own glory? Are they out for financial gain? Are they trying to seek vengeance for a fallen love? Are they? Let's find out.
And it is
number 1 again. We are selfless. We are looking out for the greater good. Okay, I'm starting to get a vision of who this character is. Selfless.
Interesting indeed. Okay.
All right. Now, the alternate one I have at the end is an optional modifier. This one you can use it or not. Pick and choose. I like to do it just because I find it fun.
It's always the curveball too, because next thing you know, that curveball.
Oh, man. It can make it crazy. Let's see what we get. Let's see. We got a 5. Weakness to a particular item. Okay, so that would be like kryptonite to Superman, or fire to John Jones. So, all right, we've got a weakness to one particular thing. There we go. All right. So
All right, so we got ourselves our we got ourselves our we got a crazy one here.
got a list. We got a list of stuff.
So an alien that lives in a steampunk setting with two major powers, two minor powers, and those major powers are being elemental control and telekinesis, and the minor powers are being flight and acrobatics. And not only that, they are a selfless alien that's just looking after the greater good of all creatures or whatever that may be. And not only that, it has a weakness to an item. Weirdly enough, this feels like we have a different kind of Superman, just done a little different.
It really does. It's kind of come in. You could make Superman out of this if you wanted to. I mean, it really.
Superman, sign me up.
Oh, son. Now we're talking about some cool stuff. All right, let's see. I'm gonna take off the backwards half of this that it wrote because I had the symmetry on to sketch out a body shape.
Also, we're just gonna show off some fun stuff. So we got what's it called over here? We got Arthur saying, "Hey, my plans got canceled. I can stay, guys. Heck yeah, heck yeah." Sorry that you got canceled, but I mean, I'm glad you're sticking around with us. And then we got Mr. Snag saying, "Cool, awesome stuff." And then we got Philip Writers again. I saw your comments, but I just wanted to touch on them now. A steampunk setting, and the character is an alien. Now that sounds awesome. That does sound awesome indeed. We are down for that.
Where did it go?
And what's it called? We got the major and minor powers of this character are fitting, especially with the characters being selfless.
Mm-hmm. I like the acrobatics, particularly with somebody who is selfless. It feels like somebody who's going to try to avoid fighting, to me, in my mind, as much as possible. Whereas, like, I've had some acrobatic characters I've created that are bringing the pain, but for some reason, this reads, in my mind, as somebody who's going to try hard not to. But I'm not trying to influence you. You do your thing.
Look.
I'm trying to figure out why that's not.
Well, hello, fiance.
Hi, fiance.
Hey, fiance.
The best part of the show has now officially made her way here.
Now we can start.
Now we can.
And all pretending up until this point.
I know. I'm telling you, having to pretend
We've
is already
just been
happened, then some.
I'm taking
Oh, come on. Okay, fine. I love you. Because I'm a responsible adult and I know how to do laundry. Totally. Anyways. Also, sorry to those. I am unable, for some apparent reason, Anyways, for some reason, I'm really fighting here to try to show my stuff, but the program isn't allowing it for some reason. So you're only going to be getting Mr. Fish's side of things for now during this entire stream. But don't worry, I'm still going to be partaking. I'm still going to be drawing. So we got a steampunk alien. This is a... Okay. So when you think alien, are you going to go like the Kryptonian aspect, just make them look full-blown human, or do you really want to go...
No, that's boring. Anybody could do human. I'm not interested in human. I want to do... If I'm going to do an alien, I'm doing an alien. I don't make him look alien. I'll make him look like he ain't from around these parts.
I tell you what. And now I can move it? Alrighty, my love.
I mean, I'm still thinking bipedal, but let's see. Power over an element and telekinesis. I'm wondering, should I tie those together? See, my thought process is I like to see how much I can weave the things together to make them connect into one thing and make them all make sense. You know, like the ability to stick to walls is an interesting power. The ability to shoot ropes that you can swing from is an interesting ability. The ability to know that danger is coming before it happens is a neat ability on its own. When you tie all those together into the abilities of a spider, then it becomes one really cohesive idea. And so it's not just Batman with a grappling gun and, whatnot, and Nightcrawler sticking to a wall. All of a sudden, it's one cohesive unit. And that's what I want to do. I want to make he can fly and he's an acrobat.
See, for me, I'm going a bit more the feminine route on this one. Right?
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
So then
You
it's
do
an
you, boo.
I'd be doing me, but this is an alien living in a steampunk society, and not only that, has telekinesis. That part is also a major factor and whatnot. So I mean, I'm thinking. So, what should I do? I'm also trying to figure out like what kind of ears, because sometimes when I do alien kind of people, I always go for the pointed elven ears for some reason. Just because it's like that feels alien enough, but it's like, is it though? Is it really? Okay, and they live in a steampunk world. I mean, just imagine this entire world as it is, and then they're the only they could be the only alien, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They could be last of their kind. They could be.
Okay.
They could be crash landed.
Hmm.
They could be.
Or, maybe they could have been an alien living on a tyrannical planet, Omni-Man style, traveling the universe, dominating them for whatever that reason may be. But then they're the only ones that decide to be like, nah, dominating people ain't kind of nice. Okay. And then I think another interesting aspect when it comes to designing some characters is probably going off of like almost like a, what's it called? I guess using some form of like animal as a means, if you will, of inspiration. Because you can always do that, but these are telepathic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. Okay, wait. This is a bit weird. I think I got something. Okay, probably not. Let's see. Okay, so. Okay.
Oh, hey,
Ooh.
that actually.
Okay, I went weirdly bug route on this one. And then not only that, but like, what kind of steampunk are we just talking here? Are we talking just like the super grounded kind, or are we talking the kind where it's like super fantastical, where you have like floating, airships and blimps and?
You gotta have the airships and blimps and things and that's a have to. That's not even a question of want to. That's a have to have.
That's true. It reminds me of this one because apparently there was like a Star Wars comic that was very much akin to being in like a steampunk universe, or it's like a steampunk style kind of a Star Wars comic of sorts. All right, well, something I have to keep into. Oh. Okay, yeah, I went completely different than I thought I would. Again, having to draw on the fly is really interesting. If y'all can see what I'm drawing right now, this is insane. I really wish I could just show off what I'm drawing, man. It's so annoying.
You can hold it up.
True, but it's not the same though.
No, it's not. But here, I'll put you full screen. You can show us what you're working on.
All right. Well, more or less, here's what I got head-wise. I'm going full alien.
See, that's what I like. I like it when you take it to something that it can't just be a dude in a suit. Like, that's what I really love.
The original idea was doing a Cyclops woman, like a woman who just has a singular eye, and I was going to go off of that. But I'm like, let me just try something new. Thank you so much for digging it, man.
Yeah.
That weirdly enough, like, I guess to kind of put in my little inspo, I thought of a snail because weirdly enough, there's the anime One Piece, and they all have these weird snails that they have as phones, and it was because of a weird theory that like these snails are telepathic or whatever, which properly led into the telepathic power, if you will, of this character. I was trying to, like, I guess, play into that, if you will. Okay, so then also steampunk. That's actually another part I could take into consideration and whatnot. Okay. I could do like a snail buggish kind of creature. This is interesting indeed. Interesting indeed. Trying to keep everything lively. The inside design that you have is brilliant. Thank you, Philip. Thank you so much. Again, it was really
full team Esteban.
But hey, like I said, guys, if you have any really awesome ideas that you want to put into the chat so then we can use it for a different list later down the road, please pop them in. We would love to use them. I can't wait to roll up any of those awesome designs, and to think your design could be your idea, your concept could be the reason why we have like one of the best, designs by far. You know what I mean? Man, I got my little brother calling me. What's up, little bro? I'm on stream.
Oh, yo, I have a question.
Potential answer.
How do you make the music for the AI music for your videos?
Just use Suno. It's
What's it called?
Suno. Suno. Yeah, it is. Sorry about that. I got my little brother calling me. Yeah, say hi to the stream. Yep.
Hey, stream. What's up?
How you doing, boss?
I'm doing good, man.
Good, man. I've heard amazing things about you, man. It's so cool what you guys are doing, man. I loved all the ideas from the last video.
Oh yeah, man. It's been a lot of fun. It's way more fun having somebody to play with than just coming up with stuff by myself. It makes the whole thing a whole lot more fun.
Oh yeah.
Well, I love you guys, man. You guys have a good one. I'll see you soon.
All right. Now that you know.
Take care.
You probably should have called Dad too. He was on that more than anyone else.
Okay, I'll see you later.
All right. Give it a chat.
Bye.
Oy. Love when family randomly calls in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so steampunk. Okay, you know what? When I think steampunk, I think well, let me get the body frame first, just because. Okay. Do I want to incorporate? Because I was thinking of a snail, then I'm starting to go more bug-like, because I want to incorporate like a snail shell on the back of the character, but I don't know if that'll like show off. Or some like snail, or maybe some. Then the flight. Okay.
What if it was chunks of snail shell that around the body that when they pull together it comes together like an armadillo shell or something? Just throwing it out there.
No, that's a pretty. That's a solid concept. All right, so we got this over here. Maybe. It's a bit out there, but again, I had to stick with the steampunk aesthetic. Maybe she comes from like an alien race of like slimy, sluggish looking kind of people. They're humanoid to an extent, right? And maybe in her situation, the ship that she ends up riding looks like a snail shell, right? And then maybe she has like an armor that could potentially do that or something. I don't know. We'll see where we go from there. All right, now maybe I should go a little bit above that. Nah, because part of me wants to go like the more humanoid route as well, like to probably dive into it and, like just give her a basic woman body and just give her like an alien head. But I don't know if I should do that or not.
Yeah,
like,
it's a tough call because it makes it a lot easier to identify with them when they're human looking. But to me, I'm like, how many places are gonna just come up randomly with the same amount of arms and legs and a head in the same place and 2 ears and like
right.
Rodrigo Padilla says do a public domain version of The Boys.
Ooh, The Boys. public domain version of the boys. I don't know, like stories like those. I think for me, I'm not really that kind of guy to do like. Funnily enough, I was mentioning to before we started the stream, I was talking about like how I made up my own like little idea of a public domain Spider-Man character, but the suit design of said character looks very like heroic, but could equally be a little scary and whatnot, which is very interesting. But I don't know. I don't really like the idea of like always bashing superheroes. For me, when I read superhero comics, I want to be inspired. I want to be like, ooh, I like the idea of these heroes being good guys and saving the day. I don't like the idea of there always being like, you know, them always potentially being evil. You know, like don't get me wrong. It's always at least a good storytelling. You know, there's having an evil version of Superman, but you can only have so many of those so many times before it just gets annoying, in my opinion. You know, but hey, that is just an opinion.
I've seen all the what if Superman went bad stories I really care to now. I mean, admittedly, the guy that originally did the boys really didn't like superheroes and wanted to show all the reasons that he didn't, and that's valid. I mean, there are some problems with the trope, and like mainly like a lack of responsibility for what you're doing, and the damage you could potentially be causing and stuff. But I think Invincible handles that a lot better and shows what it's like to really try to do good and mess up and know people got hurt in the process and have to live with that. Whereas the boys just originally especially just wanted to be as gross as it could be. But a lot of people dig it, and I'm not saying it's a bad show. I've enjoyed parts of it, but
I mean, it for what it's worth. It is obviously popular for a reason and whatnot. So I'm
yeah,
not completely against it. But personally, when I read a superhero comic, I want them to be awe-inspiring, good, inspirational figures that say, "Hey, do good. Good is good. Bad is bad." Like I like the simplicity of it. No, yes, it's always good to be into the nuances and to know more of the intricate nature of like, oh, but what is good? What is bad? Because we're people, we're complex, we have thoughts, opinions, and mindsets that
hmm
are vastly different and whatnot. So I'm not against that, but if for the public domain version of the boys, that just kind of feels like I can just take any soldier character from any like World War II comic and I could just smack them up together into that.
and
Personally,
really, it's all just parodies of, you know, Batman and Superman and stuff anyway. So, if you're doing a version of Superman from the public domain, then you're basically doing, make him meaner, and you got Homelander.
pretty much, and I'm not, it is what it is there. But like I said, I guess just that's like the one thing that always kind of frustrates me about like those like evil superhero tropes and whatnot. It's like the reason why they're superheroes because they're trying to do the exact opposite of like what is bad. Like again, the one thing I liked about James Gunn's Superman, regardless of its flaws, it's like you could see that Superman is just genuinely trying to do good and he's making every effort imaginable.
hmm
And that's the one thing I
Oh
very much
yeah,
like.
I love that part about it. I mean that that's what I love about that story. I mean, there's a few little things here and there that bugged me, and there's a couple of spots in the story I didn't care for the ending. Ending really bothered me, but I don't know how I would have written myself out of that ending. I probably would have had the world get destroyed if I wrote it because, you know, I don't really see how Superman fixes that. But
Hmm.
I didn't care for the flick a light switch kind of answer that they went with. I've never liked. I don't like an answer that doesn't have any cost or consequence to save the day. Like, what's the point? If it didn't cost him anything, if he didn't have to grow or struggle or and I like stories that make you think about like what is it like to be a hero, what are the mistakes they could make, how like that's what I really like about the way Invincible approached the whole thing with his powers. It was I just realized I still had the dice tower on. It He messed up at times and people died because of it. and there were consequences to it, but eventually he learns and doesn't make those same mistakes and grows as a character, but he still has to live with all of the mistakes that he makes. And it's easy to make a lot of mistakes in that situation. And to me, that was interesting. That made a character that I care about, but also, like, yeah, I can totally see and agree. Like, he messed up. Like, there's lots of times that he messes up or gets mad and does something or acts too brashly, and then ends up turning somebody into his main supervillain, and things like that didn't have to happen if he'd been smarter or better prepared or taking it more seriously or whatever. And I like seeing those consequences, but also, like you said, sometimes I just want to read a story and have fun and go on a fun adventure and know everybody's going to be okay in the end and the good guys are going to win, and not have to worry about, is the good guy suddenly going to turn bad and attack the princess that he just saved, because she spurned his advances and he's an incel or something. Like, I don't want to have to worry about that when I'm just reading something for fun. I think that's significantly alien.
Oh, very much so. I still am on the body of this thing because I'm still trying to figure out, like, I guess proportional wise, how this would work. And again, trying to keep into account the telekinesis, the elemental powers, the flight, the acrobatics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always the difficult parts.
Fly by the seat of your pants, my boy. It's been working for me for 50 years.
And that's usually how I tend to run my D&D games.
Oh, howdy.
Flying off the seat of your pants and then God hoping that everything comes out all right.
Always tickles me when somebody's like, okay, how were we supposed to beat the bad guy? And I'm like, I have no idea. You can't do that, man. You gotta have some idea. You gotta have a plan. Nope.
If I have a plan and idea, you don't go with it.
Yeah. You're guaranteed to blow it out of the water if I spend time making a plan. So, yeah, no, that's up to you. You're the plan maker. I'm the tell you if your role worked guy. And to play all the other characters. That's the part that I really had wrong. I was so worried I was never going to get to play again once I started game mastering for my friends, because I knew none of my friends around there had any real interest in trying to be the game master, but they all wanted to play. And I was like, man, I'm going to be stuck doing this forever. And I was, but I didn't realize you get to play everybody. You get to be every character and every extra and every, homeless kid on the street and every whatever, every bad guy, every little old lady that turns out to be a evil succubus or whatever. Like, and that's so much fun. I really thought, man, this is going to be, I'm never going to get to play again, but I all I get to do is play.
You just play everything instead of just playing one.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I mean, yeah, I don't get to build one character up real high or anything, but oh my goodness, some of the bad guys I get to play that I never would have got to play a character. No DM or game master would have ever let me play a character as powerful as the guys I send my kids up against regularly.
I can only imagine how crazy those can get. Okay, so I think I can go off of that idea. Oof, I think I don't know if I screwed myself over by making this one. Well, flying off the seat.
Lady?
Yeah, just a little bit, because I have to try to, again, the way that I'm going at it, just to kind of show it off a little here, because I'm also trying to find like some steampunk references and whatnot. Hold up. Come on.
Well, see, that's a smart man looking at references.
But yeah, this is all I got as of right now.
Okay.
I got multiple
I'm digging
arms.
that.
Yeah, multiple arms, trying to get a corset, you know. And again, acrobatics is another thing I had to play with there as well. Um,
Everybody knows acrobats love their corsets.
this is true. Now maybe kind of probably play up into a short skirt dynamic, you know, so then that way it's not so that we're just kind of having it there. We should probably do like maybe a two skirt thing, maybe, who knows. I think that's good enough for now. Yeah, usually, I mean, especially the last time, that was when I was genuinely trying to fly off the seat of my pants. Like the last time we did that, I was just kind of like, okay, let's see how I can do this. No references, no nothing. So this time, actually having to like, even having to look at references, I still feel like I'm struggling a little.
See, I'm glad Philip noticed that my design kind of reminds him of a fish or some kind of ocean type dweller, which I definitely wanted to put in like the gills. And originally I was thinking like eyes on the side of the head like a bird because of flight, and but also it reads kind of fish too. You're absolutely right. And I definitely added some of the mouth parts that I tend to put onto my fish people, like in Alice issue 2. The captain has all those little, like very many of the catfish whisker things, you know, more than they really have. Uh, Rodrigo asks, are you going to do a public domain version of Mercs for Money?
Works for money. Okay. I mean, I'm not actually. I'm gonna be totally. I have no idea which one that is. I'm not fully into. Like again, I know the basic Marvel DC. I guess you could say that I'm like a casual like movie fan or the basic movie fan. But I mean, if it sounds like it's a like Mercs for Money. It sounds like a Marvel product if I'm incorrect. And so I'm not against the notion of it, you know. But that would imply that I would know some of these characters and actually willingly like diving into that. Okay, so then it's the 10 of that. All right, so then now that was actually the one thing I wanted to draw was like goggles, because when I think steampunk, I think goggles. You know, the doing all that kind of stuff. So she's like a bug-like alien that has telekinetic powers, and also happens to be, let me see, telekinesis, flight, and acrobatics, and elemental control. Okay. Now the question is, how do these characters control the elements? Now that there is the question indeed.
That is the question. And we've been waiting on you for the answer, Mr. Guerrero. Come on now.
Oh, dang. I didn't realize I was supposed to have the answer here the whole time. Oh boy. Well then also, well, I mean, we could say they can use their telekinetic abilities and whatnot, or again, maybe it's kind of like Avatar, you know, where again it's like my only reference of elemental using, but like using different body motions in the process.
Mhm.
Marvel and Deadpool is the leader. Kind of figure as much. That means that I have to make my own public domain Deadpool if I wanted to do that.
That's an interesting challenge right there, to try and find somebody that could fit that mold, because that's a weird character, especially to try and find something in the public domain for.
Oh yeah.
I mean, either really shoehorn something, or I'd be really curious to see what you could come up with on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I do technically have my own original idea for a public domain, not public domain, but I do have my own original idea of a Deadpool for my universe. I call him X, and he's actually a Jamaican style Deadpool. You know, because he's, you know, he actually has the colors of Jamaica, the red or the yellow X, the black, the green. It was actually a really perfect like concept for it, and he's, you know, just like your run of the mill, like just loud and obnoxious, you know, like Deadpool but Jamaican essentially. You know, dreads and all.
Yeah.
But then eventually, a few of my friends, when they saw it, they're like, oh, you should call him Dreadlock. And I'm like, kind of goes hard.
Mm-mm.
Okay. And then also, they have a weakness.
Friends be
to
doing that.
Friends do be doing that, you know?
Coming up with ideas and making you look bad because it's better than yours.
Exactly. Okay. I think I kind of got something going on over here, relatively speaking. Now the question is boots, because now I'm kind of going for the bug like, but you know what? Hey, let's just have at it and give her some weird alien legs. You know, gotta keep them on them toes or whatever the equivalent of bugs' toes are called.
Oh goodness, I should know that, but I don't.
Yeah, because
You're
I'm
gonna
really
do a public domain version of X Force from Deadpool 2?
ooh. Again, that would also imply that I would need to create like the public domain rendition of some other characters. Again, I love the public domain editions and all that kind of stuff. Those are a ton of fun to do. But here's actually the interesting thing about like Marvel and DC and like how public domain stuff works. I can recreate the entirety of the DC universe using literally every public domain character underneath the sun, specifically because like it feels more like right to use it for DC other than Marvel. Marvel was made, and as crazy as it sounds, more modernly by the 60s and the 70s, and then onward. So a lot of those characters are made within that kind of time frame. So you can't really
It
like
is a lot easier to hit a Wonder Woman style character or a Superman or a Batman out of the public domain than it is to hit a Spider Man or Cyclops or Psylocke or Wolverine or like, I mean, the newer the characters get, particularly, the weirder they are from like the original basics. Like, oh, we got fire powers, or he's got rock power. Like, I mean, they're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. But now we've had generations of people coming up with ideas and building off of other people's ideas and storytelling, and it's gotten really interesting and weird. And it's a lot harder to force that in and make it work that way.
and I will say, especially with Marvel, because of the fact that they were like made in a time where, again, they were able to advance more with the powers. Again, he ended up coming to the X-Men, which came up with wackier and funnier or just very unique kinds of powers that aren't easy to replicate in the public domain, right? And Philip asks, how about doing public domain version of Heroes for Hire? I am not against Heroes for Hire. That does sound like a lot of fun. Again, I'm not against a lot of these public domain things. It's more like whether or not I'm going to have the time to get to that. Because again, I also want to work on my own. Again, doing content creation and then having to make comics. I'm like just doing this alone. Like it's already a lot for especially comic book content creators.
Oh man, yeah. I'm like, the time I take doing this is like literally probably gonna cost me at least $200. But this is fun, and this is giving back to my community, which is important to me. This is, you know, showing other people how I come up with these ideas, how I sketch them down, how I work, trying to offer tips and help as I go. And it's important to me to give back. And so that's as important as the fact that I got to pay the mortgage. And so I like taking the time to be able to do some stuff like this. But, you know, it is taking away time that I could be doing something that's going to pay money. So I got to be careful how much time I spend on it.
Yeah. So okay. So
Easy to get lost in the fun and forget about the bills.
If only we could get pay to play.
Eventually. Once Philip and Rodrigo go over to the Patreon and subscribe.
Hey, that's totally good. Well, what's it called? Another what's it called? So for me, the way that I'm also going about it, I'm adding a little top hat to my little character over here, just because I think that'd be a little interesting. Just because you know, part of the steampunk aesthetic is also like a little adding little top.
Fancy. And the whole Victorian era is all like fancy dress and, you know, complicated clothes. And
okay, because I think I got more or less an idea down for this, so we're gonna go right into the line art process as well. So for some context, this is just kind of stuff on your my love. All right. So here's what I got as of right now.
okay, hold on, let me move you over here.
Yep.
There
It's
we
all
go.
good. So we got ourselves a bug-like lady who wears like a little steampunk style kind of hat. with 4
Awesome.
arms and some bug-like legs. So that's at least the some of the interesting factors there. Again, really want to kind of go a little bit out there, just a touch. Again,
My
this also
question is she going to have mandibles?
ooh, more like the hidden kind of mandibles. Maybe she has like a really cutesy kind of appearance of a face, and she'll only pull that if she gets violent. Again, playing into the selfless concept of being like, oh, I'm here to help you all in your endeavors. And also, I was thinking the little gauntlets, the little glove she has on her, on each of her arms, they can actually help like attune to her telekinetic frequency of controlling elements. Maybe like telekinesis, that again, it's that major power, but what if that major power for her is being able to like control the elements, or using like a device that channels that element to a degree.
I can dig it. I can dig it. That's what the shovel said to the backyard. I can dig it.
But then also, it's more like, how did they get to the steampunk world? I mean, was this world already established with aliens in it, or did these people just traverse through the realms of space and they just happen to crash land on Earth, or did they go there just because, and they're just like, oh wow, these are some weird looking apes? And
now, that's an interesting idea. Like, I mean, it's an interesting idea from the point of like first contact with aliens in a steampunk world, or a steampunk world where like interstellar travel is commonplace, and dealing with aliens from around the universe is normal and not uncommon to have visitors hanging out in your streets and shopping in your stores, and that would be a more fun world for me to want to draw right there. I can just see some big fat like 8 appendaged thing with a bunch of eyes riding around on a penny farthing bike with the great big front wheel. Oh, that would be so awesome. Oh yeah, I'm down.
But it's kind of crazy to think, just like how just like how we did this last week. I mean, we get to see the different like thought processes, and not only that, but getting to show off that just by simply drawing a singular character, we kind of get to see how the world is being shaped up for it. Again, we're just simply talking about steampunk styled aliens and whatnot, and now we're already having to come up with, what does the world look like? Because again, that's always like a really interesting factor when creating these very unique characters and whatnot. So
that's just always where my mind goes, is like, okay, if they've got, if they walk around on all fours, then what do their weapons look like? How do they carry them? How do they carry their money? How do they get dressed in their clothes? What do the seats in their spaceship look like?
Do they
like
even wear
all of
clothes?
this
Even
stuff.
use technology? Who knows?
Oh yeah, I've done like some characters. I did one alien that just had 2 big stomp claws coming out of his hands, like just 2 big nubs, like he was wearing bone mittens, and that was all they had. So the more I thought about it, all of their clothes had to be big and like slip on, because they can't do buttons and tiny stuff, and all their clothes ended up having like really big thick edges on it, so it was easy to grab. And then like all of their markings and stuff, I started giving some of them tattoos, but they were like big stripes like you would make with that big claw. And like if you put face paint on yourself with that big paddle claw, it would be this big fat stripe. And it just, that design led to more and more interesting little tidbits that made them more and more interesting. And now every once in a while, if you ever see anything I do that has like a bunch of alien language in the background, and you have something with just big fat, like almost brick like stripes, that's those aliens. They may not even appear in the book, but my God, their language does from time to time.
I mean, hey, but
All right, let's see.
got that gentlemanly design. Now I'm kind of going in with mine. I'm now getting into the line art as well, but I'm just gonna kind of just do my own thing at the moment. Just kind of add little frilly bits. I'm also kind of glad I challenged myself a little bit by doing something that, because if it was me, I would have done some like, I probably would have done like the idea that he looked like a human, or maybe again probably done something a bit more on the more typical macho masculine side. So actually getting to like dive into doing something a little bit more feminine was a lot more interesting in a way. So I actually
Oh
like the way
yeah.
all of this coming out. I mean, does this look like someone's potential fan fictional alien concept in a steampunk world? Maybe, but is it fun to draw? I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I always love a good challenge. And um, I remember the first job I got drawing a full comic book for a client. It was an issue of the Sentinels, and I looked at the script, and I remember thinking, "Oh my God, there's so many women in this book." And for whatever reason, I just didn't draw a lot of women very often. What up, May?
There you go.
Like my boys were always asking me to draw male superheroes. I I like drawing bad guys and stuff. Like for whatever reason, I just never happened to draw a lot of them, and I was really nervous about it. So I put a lot of work in trying to figure out ways to draw them in interesting ways so that they all looked a little bit different from each other. They didn't all look like the same supermodel with different colored hair, and they didn't all look just like super strippers.
Yeah.
And um, and I think I came up with a pretty good mix. And then once you started throwing in all the background characters and the crowd scenes and all the women in there, then I got to do all kinds of body types and things. And I was really proud of the way the book came out in the end. And now I don't think twice about drawing women because I draw them all the time because they're some of the main characters in that book. And
It's actually interesting to kind of note as well. I mean, on my end of things, it's like you like drawing, we love drawing here too, May. But to kind of add on to that topic there, I mean, funnily enough, what kind of got me more into the gist of like drawing more female, just drawing more women in general in anything I've done, was actually drawing a lot of my friends' D&D characters. From
Oh,
my
yeah.
fiance characters to all my other friends' characters, given how the majority of the group I play are usually, women and whatnot. So I started to learn how to draw, women very quickly and developed, how to draw different kind of body types, different facial structures, from lips to ears to, like decorating them to even making them plain basic, like stuff like that was actually one of the most major factors when, designing a lot of their characters. Because sometimes they went like super extravagant, making them like very, very fancy, wanting to put them in ball gown attire, which, hey, I get it. Got to feel a little fancy. And then sometimes they're just looking a little rugged and whatnot. So again, it's just really interesting getting to kind of play with those dynamics, getting to play with those different styles and aesthetics.
and stretch you out of your comfort zone and make you do things that you might not have uh, done otherwise. If you're asking me, May, have worked on. I'm working on my 116th and 17th books right now in the last 6 years. So I've worked on a lot of indie books like the Sentinels for Standard Comics, 5 star, or no, it's Kevin Terry is 5 star now from Freestyle Comics. I've done 17 of my own books, including Alice Lost in Wonderland, which is available now on Kickstarter at GoMrFish.com. Issue 3 is on Kickstarter right now. Shows a little bit over there on the side of the screen. In my story, Alice is a bounty hunter who spent her life lost in an interdimensional rift between worlds called Wonderland. And every character you've ever heard of that you thought was just a story is actually like an alien or a ghost or a demon or a yokai or something that has fallen out of their home world and landed in this interdimensional rift, which brings them just close enough to our dimension that people here can get glimpses of them in their dreams and whatnot and be inspired to write stories about them. But they're all actual characters that live in this interdimensional rift. And the White Rabbit is a time traveler with the Vorpal sword that lets him cut a hole through reality and time. And he ran across young Alice one day and tried to save her life from these bad guys. But by the time he got rid of the bad guys, he had traveled so far through time and dimensions, he couldn't find his way back to where she was supposed to be. And so instead, he takes her to Wonderland and does his best to try and raise her and teach her how to survive in the rift. And he's a bit of a scoundrel himself, so he teaches her to make a living the best way he knows how. And now she is a bounty hunter. And now in book one, her and her partner, the Tin Man, get bound by a contract to have to hunt down her adopted dad and deliver his head to the Queen of Hearts. And who just so happens to have standing orders to kill Alice and Big Tin on sight if she sees them again. So can she catch her adopted dad and deliver him to his death? Can she beat all the other bounty hunters that are out for him? Will she really turn her adopted father over to his end? How did she end up with half of his broken sword that lets her travel through reality? All these questions and more will be answered in the book. Issue 3 available now on Kickstarter.
Go get you some. Okay, so I got the majority of the body done. Now it's just the arms and these gauntlets and whatnot. Let's go. These designs for your steampunk alien characters are truly awesome. However, what are the best ideas for some to step out of one's comfort zone, especially if one wants to challenge themselves? Simple. I mean, you just got to find the one thing you're not really fond of drawing and then draw it.
What do you not want to draw? Because you know what you don't want to draw. You know what it is. Whether it's dogs or hands or ladies' faces or feet or, spiders or whatever, cars, machines, backgrounds, whatever. You know what you don't want to draw and what you're avoiding drawing, because we all do it. And that's my number one tip for anything. Take that thing that you don't want to draw and put it in every panel in the background. Make it a thing, because it will get you used to drawing it quicker than just about anything.
And again, just kind of like how I was mentioning, how for me, it took me a while to start properly drawing, female characters, because again, I was struggling to a degree, and especially, when you're a young teenager, you always have struggles, especially with some parts and whatnot. So, over time, drawing a lot of my friends' female, D&D characters, those characters actually helped me out a lot in terms of how to draw different body types, different, ways of, of how their faces look, how to draw different hairstyles, and especially with hands and feet and all that other kind of stuff. Again, you're only going to get good at, drawing the things that you're not really fond of by having to draw the thing you're not really fond of,
Yeah. And I like to challenge myself. Like, part of what I've done to build up my speed and stuff is I used to do it a lot. I don't do it as much anymore because everything I'm drawing is for pay now, pretty much. But I used to watch the news and sketch people I would see on the news or on TV shows we were watching. And particularly, I would draw a lot of clothes, because there's a lot of people wearing dress shirts and ties and suits and things that I didn't draw very often. So I would draw that a lot, and make mental clip notes in my head of, what these things look like. And you got to get fast when you're drawing from TV, because it just keeps moving and they just keep changing and they don't sit still very long. So you got to get used to the big strokes and getting the main points down quickly. And that really challenged me a lot and made me had to draw people and body shapes and ages and things I wasn't used to. I got used to drawing black people and stuff in high school when I realized I didn't know how to draw black people. So, and my school was 75% black, but for some reason, I only learned how to draw white superheroes. And then when it came time to draw portraits of people in my class, I couldn't get it right because I was trying to force everything into these white superhero proportions, and that didn't work. So I challenged myself to learn how to draw black people in, interesting, unique ways. What makes what makes Nicole look like Nicole, and what made Tamika look like Tamika, and all of that. But then, like when I was drawing off of the news, I realized I know how to draw like old white people. I know how to draw black people. I know how to draw Asian. I didn't know how to draw old black people very well. I hadn't practiced that as much. When I suddenly there's this old guy on the news talking about a fire, and I'm trying to draw him. So then that became my challenge, and that's what I started doing in my spare time. Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we're avoiding or what we haven't picked up yet because we haven't been challenged with it yet. Like I didn't really notice what an issue drawing ladies was until all of a sudden I was faced with an entire book of them, and then I was scared. So I started practicing and studying. But yeah, just pay attention and see what's tricky, see what's difficult, and steer into the skid, man. That's always my advice. Like once I remember my first comic, man, it was my first couple of little like drawn on a sheet of regular paper and folded in half comics that I made and took to school to show off. And when this one kid pulled it up and started laughing and showing everybody, oh, look, he's afraid to draw hands and feet, because everybody had their hands in their pocket and everybody had their back to the camera because I didn't want to have to draw their faces. And once he called me out for it and made fun of me, it was over. I was never going to hide the hands in the pockets again. And I drew a lot of really bad hands, but eventually it got easier and easier. And now, like in Alice, I put all these demon hand spider things crawling all over the walls because I'm not afraid to draw hands anymore. They don't bother me.
And that's another thing too. You got to take, like, as crazy as it is, even in this is a bit of a somewhat of a life lesson part too, as well. You got to take risks, even if it doesn't turn out the way that you expect it to. You got to take risks.
Oh yeah. And the first couple of times you try are not going to be perfect, but the 100th or the 200th time you try, you're going to start getting better. And and then eventually you're going to be pretty good, and then you're going to be right passable before you know it, and then you're there, baby. It's a slow going process. That's the thing nobody wants to hear. Everybody's like, I did practice, I drew 12 pages in my sketchbook. I was like, no, man, I mean, when I said practice, I meant like fill up 12 sketchbooks.
Oh,
Not one scribble on each page. I mean, fill the sketchbooks.
Oh yeah.
That's what I meant.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna do a bit of a roll myself. So I got this app called Coolers on my iPad, right? And I'm gonna more or less figure out which colors I'm gonna use. So the amount of times, I'm gonna use a D6 on this one.
Oh,
so whenever I roll, I'm gonna keep generating different colors until it gets to that number. All right. 2, 1, 2. Oh, this is okay. I'm drawing a very. You know what? I'm glad this worked out. This worked out in my favor. Oh, these are some very, very pastel colors.
That could have gone really bad.
They could have.
That
But
could
again,
have gone really bad.
thank God I'm like going. It's like it almost looks like an Easter celebrating looking, like something that would be like an Easter Sunday kind of a thing. Woo. Okay, that's
Speaking of pastel, funny colored aliens, one of my favorite, most annoying characters anybody's ever played in one of my games was a dear friend of mine from our church wanted to play. Me and her husband were friends. I mean, I'm friends with her too, of course. She's amazing. Super smart lawyer lady. But she had never played a role-playing game before, but she wanted to try and thought it would be fun. And she wanted, they were going to be playing aliens because in the story, we were coming up against a bunch of aliens, and it was going to be an easy way to introduce a bunch of characters.
Mhm.
Philip says, "Thank you so much for the advice and answering my question too." Absolutely, man. Anytime. So that was going to be the easiest way to do it. And then she had an idea for some random powers that didn't really seem like they worked together very well. But I spent some time pondering on it, and like she wanted to be an empath, and and she wanted to be able to fly, and a couple other like weird things that didn't seem like it was going to make for much of, like, it wasn't going to make her a tank. She wasn't going to just be, smashing her way through battle, which is usually an easy way to introduce a new character, a new player. Just like, yeah, just roll the hit. That's an easy thing to do. Weren't going to be able to do that. So I ended up coming up with this character that was like this beautiful alien butterfly. Like, her wings were made of like skin that like connected from her head to her hands to her feet, and it could wibble and wobble in the air as she flew, and it could flash bright colors and stuff, and it could give off these, she had telepathic abilities with it, but she also could do this dance that would be mesmerizing, and it's the way her people communicate with each other by the flashing of colors and the dances and stuff. Like cuttlefish and bees and stuff will communicate with each other through colors and dance, and and so like this is the way they communicate. But because they're so beautiful and mesmerizing, they're popular for being captured in outer space and kept as like pets and slaves. And she was a slave on this captain's ship, and he would, make her dance for him to hypnotize him and stuff, to like put him to sleep. So he, just the pressures of being a captain and stuff, it was his way to like go unconscious for a little while and, essentially take a few hits off of her dance and then be out. And so she's been traveled across the stars and stuff, and she's got all these telepathic powers and stuff built into her and stuff, but she's not particularly strong. Oh my God, she ruined some of the best games in some of the best ways. Like, I had a whole weekend campaign planned out, like 2 8-hour days we were going to play on this adventure with my big bad that I've been holding on to since high school, this indestructible toxic zombie that spews toxic waste, and he's turned all these people working at the waste treatment plant into zombies, and and all this stuff, and they fly in, and they track him down pretty quickly because she's a telepath and she can feel his pain, and so she finds him and she searches his brain and rolls like a nat 20, and like and finds out his whole backstory, that he basically was like a greaser punk kid in the 60s, and right. Him and his buddies were causing some trouble, around town, just being punk kids. And on the run from the cops, he ends up falling through the ground into this pit of toxic waste, and then just sat in there baking for, like 40 years before he emerged as Corrosion, the toxic zombie. And everybody that's tried to kill him and stop him and everything, he's basically just a kid that wants to go home in a giant body and a melted brain. And once she figured that out, she just makes herself a little hologram of his mom sitting on the front porch in a rocking chair, saying, "Come on, baby, come home. I made a fresh apple pie." And he just walks up to it, and the other dude creates a force field around the little imaginary cabin, and they take him away to a base where he can safely be stored and try and cure him. And I'm like, I had a whole thing planned, man. I had stages to this thing. I had waves of toxic zombies I had made as little minis that were going to come at you, and we were going to lose.
All just depleted.
Gone. One laid waste to my whole plan. Oh,
dang!
I was never madder and more impressed than I was in that moment.
It's like, I don't like you, but that was cool. How dare you? Oh man,
I'm used to
I
being
kind
outsmarted, just not so quickly.
of right. Okay, so I decided to go for a different color palette. Although I did choose the pink from said color palette to be the skin tone, if you will, for this. 'Cause
Translation: He decided to cheat, boys and girls. He broke his
I
own
did.
rules.
Yes, I
You
did.
heard
Because
it first.
well, I
The
could do
only-
this. No, I couldn't because it was too bright, too pastel. It could not fit in a steampunk world for the life of me. So I had to improvise to an extent. But I mean, I think this fairly came out decent enough. Let me see. Maybe I could take this color and then make it a touch more.
I'm gonna let you carry it for a second. Somebody's at the front door. I'll be right back.
And here I am, the main host of the show now. But yeah. Any other fun questions? Any other intricate things y'all want to toss out? Any other cool, nifty powers and abilities you want to chuck down into the chat, into the comments? Please do so. It would be awesome. It would be great. It would be fantabulamundo. Anyway, so I'm getting to my part here. I'm just making some things. Honestly, I thought I had it with the color palette. It was a super pastel-y kind of a color. It's just nothing but like Easter colors, if you will. I had no idea how I was going to manage that in a full-blown like steampunk aesthetic. It could work, but honestly, I don't know. Because when I think steampunk, I think like the grungy, the dirty kind of colors and whatnot. And honestly, this is coming out very, very nicely. You know, very, very, very demure, if you will. Now, honestly, trying to figure out the story for this character is also an equally interesting concept because, again, it's one thing to design a character, but it's another thing to really like dive into. Oh, you're back. Sorry, I was just so lost in chatting to myself here, but so I was just kind of talking about like getting to it's one thing to design a character, but then it's another having to like figure out what their deal is, like what's their motivation, like what's the thing. So again, this is a selfless character that we have going on here. Again, I feel like I just made an alien that just costs like the more I think about it, I feel like the character I designed just happens to be an alien that just is cosplaying a steampunk kind of a character in a weird way.
I
Like,
mean,
looking
it
at it-
happens sometimes.
It happens. I mean, for all we know, that could just be their genuine, authentic design. But who knows?
See, I got mine figured out on that aspect because mine comes from a steampunk world. So his steampunk is baked in already. Like
Ooh.
his spaceship is steampunk that travels him here. His whole world is steam powered. Like that's the way they do things there, and part of how they kept things as ecologically sound as they could, without like, going into like nuclear waste and burning fossil fuels and stuff for everything. And
Right.
I mean, and so he travels on a steam powered ship to get here. So that's all baked into his world already. But he gets here to our world at like the Industrial Revolution era and is, coming to try and bring us the information and stuff to stop from end up destroying our world. Like he knows what can happen and what's happened to other planets. So he's come as a scientist to try and help. It just so happens that he has elemental control powers and can fly and things like that because that's innate to his being and who he is. But as much as fish can breathe water and swim and birds can fly, so none of that is unusual for him. But he's coming here to this world full of aliens to try and help us transition into the next stage of our evolution and our technological development without destroying our planet in the process. And I'm seeing this as a world that's like just bursting to the brim with black smoke chugging, steam engines and stuff, and lots of warehouses downtown with smokestacks pumping out noxious fumes everywhere. And they're going hard at it, but they're gonna end up destroying our atmosphere and stuff in this direction. and he's coming to save the day. We're
So he's
not
like
gonna
a
want it.
except minus the superhero aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, he's more an adventurer scientist than anything. Like he's coming here as a diplomat scientist to try and help this new planet out. But once he gets here, there's going to be forces trying to stop him and trying to get rid of him and shut him up. Because we're making a lot of money in this process, and you're not about to ruin my finances. And so he gets to use his acrobatic skills and his flying and his element of wind control powers to be able to fly and glide. And that's part of how his species got to make such good use of steam power, because they have an innate like airbender ability with the wind and the air and stuff to be able to, help this stuff work so much better and help it, really get the most out of that burn. Because like, if you get complete burn on a fuel, it won't pump out any smoke and ash. Like, it'll pump out ash, but it won't pump out any smoke and stuff. It'll burn all of that if you do it right. And it's really interesting. I built an engine, a rocket stove once that burned everything, and it was really freaking cool. It just poured just screaming hot air and ash up into the air, but it was all clean.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think with mine, I feel like in my character situation, she was obviously one that didn't want to dive into such war-hungry situation. Maybe she comes from a planet of these, four-armed bug-like creatures, and they all vary from like, bug-based aesthetics and whatnot. And for her, she was a more, homey, a very, cutesy kind of aesthetic, maybe one that has more high-end telepathic tendencies, hence her telepathy allowing her the ability to fly. Maybe that could be like a secondhand nature for her in that situation. Maybe she ends up, transporting herself, or maybe like her planet is known for their war-hungry tendencies, and for her, she doesn't like the fact that they're always going out, always like having to destroy worlds in order to conquer for newer materials and whatnot. And maybe in her situation, she's trying her best to like go to other planets, but every time she went, she failed. But she stumbles upon a Earth within the Industrial Revolution, if you will, and tries to play into their cutesy aesthetic. She basically ends up cosplaying into the idea of like, oh well, I am dressed like one of you, but clearly she cannot hide such features. And maybe she starts using these little wristbands, if you will, that actually help enhance her abilities to control the elements. Again, seeing how they're always trying to, her people's, her bug-like brethren are always trying to apprehend new elements or trying to divide, conquer, and trying to obtain minerals to feed upon the empire of her world and whatnot. Maybe she tries to use these elements against them. And because of that, she's now using her powers, or she's using her telekinesis to help enhance and use the elements against them. Be like, hey, you want it? Fine, take it, and use it as like a force to attack, So that's kind of like my overall vibe. So here's more or less what I kind of got going on right now. It's like a bit of a...
Let's start you up on the big one.
There we go. Get that out of the way. And there we are.
Oh man, that's coming out cool, man. I dig that. Yeah, that's got a real steampunk vibe to it. Mine's reminiscent, but
it's very.
I was
very
going for
cool.
Yeah, I'm going for like alien steampunk version, and designed to work around his weird anatomy and stuff, so he can be as flexible as he needs to be, and which was part of what inspired me to let it be his own planet that is steampunk as well. And that way, having the custom-made suit that fits him, but still echoes some of those, motifs of Victorian outfits and stuff. But I like the idea of him having these big, giant ear gill things, that have gills all down them that he breathes through, which is another reason they really like to keep the air clean. But also like can help with wind control and stuff. Just think like if you've got an elemental ability to manipulate wind and you have essentially these big giant lungs on your back, like you could really suck in the air and shoot off or blow somebody back, or
Right.
oh man, there's so many cool things.
I think I
Philip
gotta-
says this fish's story idea for his character is really interesting and well created with such imagination. Thank you, Philip. And he says, Esteban, that design is too cool.
Well,
so
thank
cool.
you. Okay, now we're gonna see if I can. I'm gonna make an attempt, see if I can do a, I guess you could say like a mock cover, if you will. And seeing how we got to the designing process, man, we're only an hour and 30 into this.
I'm
This is-
telling you, man, sometimes it just rocks and or rolls.
Exactly. That's actually what and funnily enough, that was actually what I was trying to call our little D&D group. Like if we were ever to stream, I remember calling us the Rock and Rollers.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are- Oh yeah, that was gonna be a fun time. I mean, if we ever get to it, I mean, just trying to get a bunch of adults together to play a simple game of D&D is already a hassle and a half. And then
Oh, man. Yeah.
like kids are one thing because you can, depending on if they're gonna be raised in that kind of situation or not, that's just easy going to an extent. But having to get adults to do it, man, that's just trouble and then some.
Having jobs and all that stuff to have to work around.
And then scheduling conflicts, eesh, it's a nightmare.
Mhm.
But then also being the reason why you weren't able to play said game was because I was supposed to play on Sunday and I totally forgot. And then I'm like, oh shoot, because it was supposed to be like my friend's going away kind of party because she ended up moving like 2 hours up north in Florida, so it's just a lot.
Mm.
All right, so let's see. We have our character, and we're going to use that as a reference in this situation. Oy.
I don't think this is going to be the good image for a cover, but I do think it's going to make for an interesting image. And I wanted to play out and see, like, what would it look like to have him flying. And so,
Looking at your character, it gives me like he's a very Victorian gentleman because he's supposed to, fly and be acrobatic and whatnot. And I can
Mhm.
totally see him being like very, we'll see here. I'm doing what my responsibilities are into letting this planet thrive, and you're over here trying to attack me? How dare you? Raise those fists up and come at thee. Like he gives that kind of a gentlemanly kind of vibe.
oh, yeah. Like,
Not like but very much like the how dare you insult me in that way kind of a thing.
I totally see like him, like his species having a whole martial art of like avoidance. Kind of like the airbenders. Their first notion is to deflect and avoid the fight altogether. And like for him, I could see somebody attacking him and him just naturally like gliding out of their way. And, now he's standing on top of a railing or something. And he's like, I see here, good sir, you very nearly almost struck me. I know it must have been an accident, but you need to show more care than that, my good sir. And, they just keep going after him. It's like, if I did not know better, I would think you were trying to hurt me.
Oh my gosh. And to think, imagine with a slate stone carver and then this guy teaming up.
Oh, that could be cool.
Oh, just imagine the possibility. Like you see like this gentleman thief going by a code of thieves and whatnot. And then you have this gentleman over here who's just simply trying his best to create the new industrial revolution.
And
Probably
like how easily this dude could be taken advantage of because his first inclination isn't that somebody's going to want to harm him or rip him off or hurt him, because they don't do that. And he is truly in this for everybody's well-being. That's the only reason he's here. And Oh, I think there's a lot of cool opportunities for story here with this guy just in, being a fish out of water and not even realizing that people were going to react violently to, you trying to tell them they need to change the way they're earning their money and stuff, not realizing entire wars have been fought over that already. And oh man, I think he'd be so much fun to do.
I mean, not only that, but I also like the idea that maybe, like, and imagine the, again, because I'm thinking Slate Stonecarver over here, and then this gentlemanly individual. I can totally see them like doing like an unfortunate team up where it's like maybe, Stonecarver has to steal a particular item away from someone, but it just happens to be the said MacGuffin in order for this gentleman fellow to be like, oh, this needs to be put to a stop or whatnot, and then there's like an unfortunate like thing because you have a code of thieves which goes against maybe his morals or whatnot. So like getting to see like this alien partaking in this guy's thievery and whatnot, this could
Oh, that could be really cool. And like, whatever like amazing engine device the evil capitalist dudes have discovered that's going to end up bringing about the end of civilization but make them a lot of money would be an amazing target for Slate to want to steal. And for them to team up to take this thing out of commission, him not even considering for a second that Slate would be planning to rip him off and sell the thing to the highest bidder at the end. Because why would you do that? This is the end of your world. Slate's not going to be around for that. It's not going to last that long.
I'm simply here for a good time, not a long time, my good friend.
Yeah. And oh man, that could be such a cool story. And then, at the end, will Slate actually betray him and end up, risking the fate of the entire world for money, or has he actually made a friend and is going to try and save him at the end? And oh man, I can see the anime already.
The Adventures of Slate Stonecarver and insert character name here. Hey, you know what? Just
Wind Passer.
We didn't get to that part, but hey, speaking of, what would you name these characters? Again, I haven't shown mine officially all the way through. I mean, I've only shown the design, but if you're to go off of my design here and then also going off of Mr. Fish's, what would you name our characters? What are some potential concepts and whatnot?
Where you at, Brad Arney? Come in with a gym.
Okay. Weirdly enough, I think I'm gonna go like a strange, like steampunkish, like magical girl. Because in some like animes, the magical girls actually manage to use their hands and fighting and whatnot, like full-blown martial arts sometimes. And having to kind of like draw this character out in a, I guess, like in a very elegant yet very,
Demure.
very demure posing as well. This is actually interesting because I got to try to find a way to make her like elegant yet like intimidating at the same time, or not intimidating, but one that could evoke the sense of hope.
See, that's the thing that I liked about going this direction with him, was the idea of like not making him intimidating at all. Like, because I don't have to make him a superhero. Like, he could just be on an adventure and and still be in amazing settings and stuff and do amazing things. And the idea of him just being, a guy on an adventure and, so far out of his comfort zone, that's really fun for me. I really like that idea. That gets my imagination flowing. I like anything that's different, that's not what I've already read a bunch of times. You want to get me to read your book, if you make it something I haven't seen before, I will check that out. If it's my Batman fighting my Superman, okay, I hope you enjoy it. I've read that book before. I don't want to read it again. But you know, you do. What if a frog took over the world and was threatening to set off all the nukes? I'm paying attention. I want to know, how did the frog get this way? Does he know what he's doing? Is it intentional? Is it an accident? Uh, you know, I'm curious now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up having to make a book about a frog taking over the world. That's how I ended up doing Alice.
Okay, I think for me, I'm probably gonna have to go the more action route on this one, just because of like how I described her. Maybe she is from a planet of you know, world conquering, kinds of bug people and whatnot. And in order for her to fight back, again, she's selfless in the act of like, well, she's gonna save someone else's planet over, being a part of that whole thing. So it's like, oh, this is interesting. It is interesting indeed.
Oh, it's turned off. That's why I can't paint on it.
All right. Yep. So we got these over here.
Philip says, Mr. Fish, flying drawing is really amazing, and the face structure with the wings does remind me a little bit of Moth. That's cool, man. Yeah, I like doing I like taking things that I know and I've seen and then like stretching them to the extreme and doing different things with them and combining different things together. Like I came up with I was just playing around one day with shapes and just scribbling out some weird stuff. And I ended up coming up with this deer guy with horns on the side, with gills on the sides of his head that like came all the way down to his shoulders. And it's just a weird sketch. But the more I looked at it and the more I thought about it and played with it, it ended up becoming this whole race of like aliens that had these big gill panels that would come down off of their heads, almost like ears, like my basset hound's ears, the way they were big and long and would hang down like my basset hound. But then I filled them with gills going to their necks from there. And it reminded me distinctly of the stripes on the pharaoh's headdress that they would wear. And then it hit me. These are the aliens that came to Earth, thousands of years ago that the Egyptians worshipped as gods. And every weird thing that they've done and they drew pictures of was trying to make sense of these aliens and draw these aliens. And all these aliens with like animal heads and stuff were aliens from this other world. And the headdress that the pharaohs would wear with the stripes and stuff on it was to mimic the gill flaps of the kings. And then the more I started thinking about it, I ended up including them in my role-playing game. And like Ra and Anubis are still there. They're still alive. They're still gods that are ruling the Ra-Nubian Empire on the other side of space, and just kind of gave up on Earth and forgot about it until, eventually your trusty adventurers do something stupid and got their attention. And, now they're on their way to, wreak havoc. But, oh, it was really fun idea. I've been waiting to get to include them in a book for a long time now.
No,
I mentioned them in Caw, but you don't see them.
Okay. Kind of got a rough concept here. I think I'm going for her, like doing a bit of an invisible. Oh, I suggest Mr. Fish should call his character Wing Trapper, and for Esteban's character, I think she should be called Lady
Shelbyville.
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 Shelbyville. Okay, I can see the appeal to that. And Wing Trapper. It is lovely to meet all of your loved ones.
I like that. I like the idea. I like the idea of like the tapper like it reminds me of like tap dancing, light on his feet, like, or dancer maybe. Maybe that's the way to play
Or
off.
Professor Prancer. I don't know.
That's funny. That's funny. Why? What does Prancer mean in your language?
Hey, that's
In
true.
my language, it means scholar.
For I am the Professor Scholar, don't you know?
Mother and father knew what I would be, and named me thusly. Is that not how you name your prodigy?
Does this world operate?
You just let them pick. However do they know what they're best at?
How else are you not setting up for their future by not giving them a name of such amazing caliber? I tell you, this is preposterous, people, I say. Yes, yes.
How are we supposed to know what they're good at and what they were intended to do?
Quite indubiously, sir.
Whatever did you genetically engineer them for if their name doesn't spell it out? It's foolishness, my good man. It's chaos, I tell you.
And here I thought my people were barbarians.
Again, with swinging a wrench at my head. You're going to hurt somebody, my good sir.
Well, maybe that was the intention now, isn't it? Again, just love the that little dynamic. Okay, I think I got it posing down for this character and whatnots. So here's again, just kind of showing off what I'm gonna put myself here real quick. Don't you worry.
Okay, cool.
There we go. So I'm gonna give you some time to draw there. So here's what I kind of got going on over here. You can kind of see that, kind of putting her in a bit of a.
Okay, I got you. Got her cha-ching going.
Yeah, so she got her two arms, her two main arms, kind of going outward, ready for a swinging. But then she has her two smaller arms, kind of like packed up, kind of like doing that little fist in the hand thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being like, all right, I'm ready for action. Yeah, this is not your average magical girl, because she's from outer space. Her mission? To make sure her people doesn't attack nor consume any of their vital, materials needed and necessary for their survival. To end her planet's world domination plans, she must become the thing. Something along the lines of that. I don't know, I'm just spewing words.
She must do the thing and stop the other thing. Follow along as she does things on an adventure with people. In to be named later.
Of Shelbyville. Shelbyville?
Shelby's not bad.
Shelby. I think just Shelby is just a really nice, because Shelbyville, like, maybe that's her full name, like Shelby space Ville. The steampunk alien magical purple. There you go. Ooh, and then probably like her little antenna actually have like little lightning between them, or like electricity kind of conducting in between them and whatnot, which is like telling of her telepathic abilities just being more, shown, or being more out there.
So what elemental powers did she end up with?
We ended up just kind of rolling elemental ability. It's more like she can use her telekinesis to kind of. So the way that I'm kind of viewing her powers, her telekinesis is like her main stopping ability, right? So her telekinesis allows her the ability to fly. Hence, maybe she can levitate herself, right? And then on top of that, maybe she's just acrobatic naturally, just, off the fact that she can use her telekinesis to that extent, and therefore she practiced with it. But what if she created, or what if her people were able to develop these devices for her wrist that could, by extension, play with different elements, but maybe in particular she's better off with, say, water, if anything. Maybe she's probably more of a water adjacent, or maybe a wind. Honestly, I think for her it would definitely be wind. For her to do like more wind-based elemental abilities, and those wristbands actually help control those elements to an extent. So in that way, like, her telekinesis doesn't have to, like, again, her telekinesis does like the heavy lifting, ironically enough, of her powers. We got to try to roll something else other than telekinesis next time, or elemental powers. Yeah, maybe that could actually be a unique feature of this character, that maybe she has a, like, she's very cutesy looking, like she's like a very cutesy bug-like creature and whatnot. But it turns out she has like a, oh, power went up. Ooh. Oh no! I'm holding out the show now. I don't know if we're still up. Are y'all still there? Mr. Fisher side went out. Oh no. It looks like I must keep this show going. And could I potentially ever, in any way, shape, or form, just show that off? Apparently not. Technology doesn't want to function with me today, apparently, for whatever reason. But while I'm still here, I guess I might as well show y'all what I finally got at the moment. Again, I'm going for like the kind of a magical girl aesthetic where they look cutesy, but they actually mean business. Whoop! Sorry about that. See if we can focus there. There you go. If you can kind of see the posing on that. So I'm just going to dive into it and just go more with the line art and whatnot. Oof. Worst case scenario, if I don't finish it here, we're going to show it off next week on another segment of Roll for Hero. Again, leave some awesome power suggestions, some possible origins in the comments, so that way we can turn this whole thing into a fun, like, you know, interactive experience. I love the ideas that y'all kind of came up with. And again, actually, you know, using the name Shelbyville, you know, or her name is Shelby, but she goes by Shelbyville. Or maybe she has one of those weird, distinct bug names that are so hard to pronounce by the human tongue. So then, like, it just kind of sounds like Shelby. Who knows? Ooh. Ooh. Man, I'm trying not to be so tired and whatnot. All right, so then here we go. Trying to do some of that curvature action there. I'm trying to draw her little, you know, little top hat. You know. And y'all drawing some fun and unique characters? Y'all rolled along? Y'all drawn along? And if so, please tag us at hashtag Roll4Hero on Instagram or any other social media platform. We would love to see what you guys have drawn. Oof, man, I'm really trying not to break my back right now. Gotta let the table rise, as you can clearly see, just so I can at least have a stretched out back doing this. Make sure that you actually make your efforts to stand or to stretch. Oh, man. Just trying to do a whole stream and then some. It's a little difficult here. All right. All right, there we go. Trying to get this costume looking right. Again, it's kind of funny because just the way that I designed this character looks like a bug girl just cosplayed a steampunk aesthetic. Or like, you know, the kind that someone would cosplay as like for Halloween or whatever. I don't know, I think it's very interesting. It's okay, May. Don't worry. You good? You all good? Did you roll up a character? Y'all fought along? If not, don't you worry. We ain't stressing. But if you did, make sure to tag us. We'd love to see what you guys made. It's actually one of the fun parts about this channel, getting to have the interactive aspect of it, you know, trying to see what y'all done. Be pretty darn nifty, in my opinion. Oh. Whoop. I don't know who that is. Oh, could that be Mr. Fish coming back from the grave? Who knows? Whoop. Whoop. Looking like someone there. Oh. What? Hey!
Hey, it's Esteban Carrero coming at you live.
Oh, wow. I didn't know I had a twin.
Yeah. Oh, man, everything is... Ooh, this TV, I think it might have got a little fried. Um, everything's
What
coming
went
up
out?
weird colors on it.
Power grid went out or
Yes.
something?
Oh man, it went out bad. Like
Oof.
everything went out, and I guarantee you, I just lost everything that I drew.
No. Well, thank God this is a recorded stream, or it's not even recorded. Well, is it? It should be.
Oh yeah, I mean it's recorded, but yeah, I guarantee you, I probably lost everything that I drew. I mean, I can redraw him, but man, that was a nice little time lapse.
So
Yeah.
frustrating. Oh man. Well, the bright side is at least you managed to have what the character looks like, at least in the stream. So you kind of go back and do all that and whatnot.
Yeah, I got him figured out. It's just we'll see if anything comes up. Oh, I'll be danged. I have a significant portion of him.
Let's go.
All right, let's see. Share my old screen. I want to share the entire screen because I'm a brave boy. Share away, mon frere.
Oh,
There
thank
we
God.
go. All right, didn't lose everything. I lost a good bit of the coloring, but not everything. So I'm gonna give it an old save now. Fool me 10 times. Shame on me.
All right.
God, I was almost 100% done with the colors on a page one time, and then the power went out, and I lost everything and realized all I had saved was the blank page when I set it up and saved it, and I'd never hit save again. I had to redo the lettering, the balloons, the borders, the pencils, the inks, everything all over again from scratch. That was disheartening, my boy. That was disheartening.
I can only painfully imagine.
I got better about saving after that, for the most part. But I had a battery powered backup that it was like the size of a CPU sitting over here on the floor, and like a desktop computer, but it had, not only did it have big surge protectors and stuff in it, but it would have enough battery power in it to run for like an hour or something if the power went out. And that was really nice. And then one day it just quit working and started screaming because it had an alarm in it for when the power got low and the battery or whatever inside went bad. And that thing just started screaming and wouldn't stop. And that had to go outside real quick because I couldn't take the noise. Fiance knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So much other. She's not even here.
I'm telling you, she couldn't take the noise.
She couldn't take the noise.
I came back on stream and she took off. Said she had enough of my nonsense.
Oh, well, and she came back.
She must have thought my power went out again.
All right.
I honestly didn't expect this to get back up quick enough to be worth trying to get back in here, but I'm glad it did.
I'm glad that you were able to come back right on time.
Came out pretty quick, honestly. Tell you the truth. Let's see.
You know what? Maybe I'm just going to be a little lackadaisy right now at the moment, just so I can kind of get something on the go here. Because I always, when I draw on my iPad, I always tend to draw like expecting to do the paint bucket tool. And I always try to keep all my lines closed off and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't. I use the paint bucket tool, but I still don't. I don't do it like I should. And the thing is, the paint bucket tool in Clip Studio is really good about filling in little gaps, but I tend to leave pretty big gaps sometimes, and I still just do it and go back in and fix it when I need to. But I like I like not closing the lines on things. To me, it feels like the thicker the line is, the darker the shadow is right there. And I like it when, like, the top of a button, the line just kind of disappears at the top of that, like, gold button to show that it's bright and shiny up there, but it's dark underneath with a thicker
Yeah.
line. Like, I like that.
Philip Walters asks, if I could
Oh,
show
I
it.
think we both hit it.
Oh, there we go. How about the next stream you do a roll for a hero, but villain edition? Well, funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
That was actually something that we're in the works of, funnily
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, I'm all down for it. I also like the idea we mentioned at one time, the idea of doing, like, rolling up a set of powers for a hero, and, like, he makes the hero and I make the villain, or vice versa. And, like, if this is who the hero is, then what do we make the villain to fight him? Is it his evil twin? Is it his exact opposite? um I love the psychology of what goes into a good villain, and what makes different villains memorable and awesome.
I'm definitely gonna probably take your advice on that, watching the news and probably sketching out those characters, because got to really learn how to speed up my
It'll do it.
skills here.
That and drawing in ink has been really good for me, because I'll just sketch in my sketchbook with my brush pen, and it will make you have to get comfortable with your lines quickly. And it makes you a little braver with your lines, and it helps build that confidence of, like, it's going to work, or I'm going to figure out how to make it work, one or the other. But, it's not going to be the end of the world if I make a little mistake. And confidence is key. The more comfortable you are with what you're doing, the braver and bolder you're going to be with those lines, and it's going to look better in the end. And it's been a big favor for me. That's one of the things I like about working digitally, because I can be super brave with my lines, because I can undo it if I don't like it. I couldn't do that before.
Same thing over here with doing things digitally. Again, I'm just kind of like doing a bit of a scrappy concept, but maybe at some point I'll probably go back and probably refine it a little bit. Again, just because I can't show my side for whatever that reason may be. But what's it called? May ends up stating, I like drawing in real life more than digitally. And you know what? That's actually good. It's good that you draw in real life, because that actually shows that you have confidence in your line work. But if you start transitioning those traditional valued concepts for drawing and implementing them into digital, that would actually enhance your art by like a metric ton. But that's just my opinion. Nobody asked for it.
I miss drawing traditionally, because I miss, like, there's some things that you can just do with the flick of a wrist with, like, a brush that take a whole lot of work to get the same effect out of a digital brush, or building a custom brush or something to get something that I could just with my hand. But the control, the ability to be able to fix mistakes quickly and easily, I drew a perfect hand, but it's just a little bit too big, so now I have to figure out how to fix this or scrap the whole page and start over. No, I can just select that hand and shrink it. For getting work done on a timeline, it is amazing. But like I said, I do miss working traditionally, and I've really enjoyed going on like SketchUp with Mog and Mel on the EXP Experience channel on Thursday nights fairly often, and getting to do live traditional drawing. It's nice to have that opportunity regularly to stretch those muscles again, And it's nice that the drawings are up for sale and people can buy them, which is something nobody really wants to do with a digital drawing, but they will pay good money for, that traditional drawing of Agent Venom that I did last week on the show and sold.
Because I think it's the concept of like things being, made like in person. There's more value to it than something digital. Because with something digital, you can print it and it's like a one and done kind of a concept. And it's like, oh, I could just get this as many times as I want, unless it's like a limited run on a particular art piece, then there's not much of a rush in trying to apprehend it.
Yeah. It's got its pluses and minuses. Like, I was always of the mindset forever, because I was always worried about, like, how am I going to make a living and how am I going to provide for my kids, yada yada, that I was always like, I felt like I was wasting time if I was doing art in a manner that I couldn't reproduce to sell. Like, if I was just doing one painting, I can sell that one painting, but if I do an illustration that, like, I could print into cards or something, or, whatever, make a calendar out of, I could turn around and sell it. If I'm doing sculptures, doing a one-off sculpture, I might be able to sell for $500, $1,000. But if I make one that I can mold and cast, and I can make 100 of them, I can sell 100 of them for $20 and make $2,000. And that's always been my hustle mindset, my whole life. And it's taken a while to try and unlearn some of that stuff, that everything doesn't have to be a hustle. Everything doesn't have to be a money-making opportunity. I'm a firm proponent now that, it's perfectly okay. And I often encourage people, like, if you just want to do art as a hobby, do that, man. Let it be fun. Let it be the thing you enjoy. You can still work on your story or whatever you want to make. It doesn't have to, you don't have to turn it into a money-making opportunity, But if you want to, there are ways to do it if your idea is good and whatnot. No, that's too much.
I'm getting kind of rush the line art process. I'll clean it up later when we do the reveal for next week. But not only that, but if also, what's it called? Yeah, what's it called? You guys can pop on over to my channel, and at some point I will be making a whole video with a story and background and everything with Shelbyville. I will be utilizing, Shelbyville. I'll tell a whole story, make a faux cover and everything. It's going to be a fun time if you guys want to see like the more cleaner rendition of this for like later down the road. So if you guys ever want to see that, pop on over to my channel for that. But yeah, but also just to kind of add on to what Mr. Fisher was saying, that sometimes there are just things that are just kind of meant to be like a fun little, passion project. You want to make art, you can make art, but don't force yourself and try to make money out of it. Art is also meant to be a space where you can let your creativity out. You gotta let that thrive, and creativity takes time. In a way, it's like a child. You have to let it grow. You have to let it, make mistakes once in a while. Then realize that there's some places where it falters, and other times where it's going to be, better off in some other places than not.
There we go. That's not a bad old illustration of the boy.
Oof. All right, let me see. I'm gonna see if we can try to at least do
Right. Dapper looking
quick
dude.
concept here. I'm gonna do a bit of a quick mock-up or a quick little coloring in. Would you guys ever want this goes to the chat, and then also for you, Mr. Fraser, in the odd chance, would you guys ever want this to be some variation of a coloring book? Maybe take all the characters that we draw thus far and want to color them in yourselves? Do you think you have a better idea of how these characters should look or otherwise?
Oh, that's a whole fun thing in itself, which is one of the things I like about watching your time lapses when you redesign like the public domain characters. I love when you're cycling through the colors, because like that was always my favorite part of figuring out what colors am I going to put where. on the costume. How many colors do I want to use? Do I want to do red and yellow? Do I want to do green and blue? Or do I want to put purple? Like, that's where I always had fun with it. I absolutely love that. Commander Comics says, I love doing it as a hobby because of what Stanley said. He did make heroes for the public, but for himself, which reflects his life.
Yeah.
Let's see. May says, what if you do a thing where you make a character, then try to make a character that is the opposite of that first character? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, about maybe down the road, rolling up a set of powers and one design a hero, one design a villain, or one design a hero off those powers, and then try and decide what would their villain be, and have free reign to do whatever we want with that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Commander Comics says, yeah, I love it when something I draw has a flaw because it becomes its own character.
That is so true.
Absolutely.
Sometimes flaws in some art pieces end up becoming just as much of a characterization in many ways than we could ever account for.
He says he didn't even know about the public domain characters until he watched your show.
Hey,
That's awesome. Sharing love and the information, man. That's awesome.
And hey, I'm glad that you're able to discover the public domain, because honestly, I feel like that's one of the best places to really kind of get a kickstart in creating like your own comic book universe. If you don't know where to start, look at some characters in the public domain, build up from there, and just have at it. The whole point of that is that you're just trying to have fun with it, or actually make it your own thing. The characters are no longer under the reins of such, copyright terror, so you can do whatever you want, do as you please. Just make sure it's legal and safe.
God, that's wild. Apparently, the power outage killed the backdrop I had.
Yeah, because I noticed that your entire your whole workspace over there is looking a little dark in the back there.
Oh yeah, those lights went out, and I haven't bothered trying to put them back in yet because I have to cycle through all the freaking lights to get there, and I wasn't even sure I was going to get back in here at all.
We are glad that you were here.
But yeah,
I'm
man,
just glad you're safe.
wild.
That's just the most important.
Oh yeah, I felt a little pop in the screen when it got hit. I was surprised the computer didn't take some damage or something, but it looks like the TV might have got a little singed. It's got a bunch of little red dots on it. Or let me ask you, you're not seeing any like red patterns on my shirt, are you?
No, I can't.
Okay. All right, then it's the TV. I thought it was the TV, but it could be the camera that it's looking through too, because that's all plugged in.
I'm actually kind of digging this. I'm glad I kind of went a little bit rough on this, because now I can kind of go back and refine it. But this is actually very, very nice, and I'm very surprised with the results. For this being the character, I was very surprised. Very, very surprised getting to see this character come to life.
Do you have anything you want to show before we probably get off here and get going?
Past that 2-hour limit there.
I got other pages
Yeah,
I
you
got
gotta
to
do
do for
that. I
clients.
can kind of show this off here. Actually, let me do that thingy and then switch this thingy around, do that. Kind of like the way this came out. I'll have to figure out how to do the cover for it at some point, but this is Shelbyville.
Oh, that's coming out great, man. That's looking awesome.
Kind of going the route of her being a martial artist in a weird way, but using like maybe the wind to her advantage, But honestly, I really love the way that this design kind of came out. Again, not expecting what I was drawing here. So I'm really happy with how this. I'm very personally proud of how this came out. I wasn't expecting to draw like a steampunk martial artist, kind of person who's agile, alien-like.
Yeah.
It's again, that's the joy of rolling for a hero. Just getting to come up with random character designs, and just your creativity just gets challenged out the wall freaking too. But anyways, that's what I was drawing.
And if y'all come up with any cool characters, if you design any cool OCs, we absolutely want to see them. Tag them with the hashtag Roll4Hero, and we will check it out. You might see them on the show. I'd love to show off some of y'all's artwork and stuff when you design
showing off all the people's art.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Your
so
art. If
cool.
you want to feature your art
So
here,
let us
tag
know what
us.
you make.
Use the hashtag ROLL, the number 4 HERO, roll for hero. That's the hero. That's the hashtag you're going to use if you would like to show us your amazing and awesome creations and all that other kind of fun stuff. I had a blast drawing this fun steampunk character and whatnot, and I'm assuming you had fun. I think you just had more fun than I did in this whole process and whatnot. I mean, who knows?
It's been a good time, man. I appreciate you being here. Where can they find
And
you
online, you guys can
man?
find me over at my exact name right over here, Esteban Carrero. That is actually going to be my main YouTube. I also happen to have a TikTok and all that other kind of fun stuff. If I can quickly get to the thing. Don't get loud. Okay, there we go. Perfect. It's going to be Ultra Comics. It's going to be U1 and then TRA_COMIC. That is going to be my thing. And that same situation over on the Instagram. Again, U1 TRA_COMIC. That is for both my Instagram and for my TikTok. And again, my YouTube is actually going to be, as stated right over here, Esteban Carrero. So that's where you guys can find me on my socials. Can't wait to see the awesome, amazing results that you guys done. And yeah, that's basically everything on my end. But Mr. Fish, where can they find you?
I am Mr. Fish Comics everywhere on all the social medias. And also, you can go to gomrfish.com. You see down there at the bottom of the screen. Go there, and it will take you to my book, Alice, Lost in Wonderland, issues 1 through 3, available now on Kickstarter. That follow the amazing blonde bombshell, bloodthirsty bounty hunter as she hunts her way through the interdimensional rift of Wonderland, trying to capture the head of her adopted father, the White Rabbit. Crazy story, lots of time traveling nonsense, lots of generational trauma. It is cool stuff. You want to check it out, pick up a copy today.
I think
Anyway.
so. We're officially finalizing everything here. All right, guys, be on the lookout for the next Roll for Hero segment for next Wednesday. But until then, to my fellow weirdos out there, make sure to stay awesome, stay weird, and keep life to the easiest. And always remember that art inspires all, but you can inspire more. But until then, everybody.
Roll for hero!
You know, and even if you were to have like a prompt of 10 different things, right? Like say if you had one prompt of like, oh, like here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. You know, the possibility of that happening is again like a 1 in 10 chance, but it's like it shows that there's an infinite
There's
possibility.
always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with because there's no end to the prompts. There's no end to what we can roll up.
When now